Thank you. Yeah, let me get over here and then I'll call you, okay? Sorry, bye-bye.
Dr. Prosecutors, are we ready to go?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. It's 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, October 12th, 2021. I call this regular meeting of the Kingsville Independent School District to order. This time we'll have roll call vote. Mr. Brian Kufal. Mr. Brian Kufal. Lieutenant Colonel Kreitz. Lieutenant Colonel Kreitz. Mr. David R. Garcia. Here. Ms. Elizabeth Ramos.
Here.
Mr. James Galusi. Here. Ms. Delma Salinas.
Here.
And Mr. Corey Garza is present. Let the record show there is a quorum of board members present and that this meeting has been posted in accordance with Government Code, Chapter 551, State of Texas Open Meetings Act. Along, let the record show that again, our superintendent of schools, Dr. Sissy Reynolds Pettis, is also in attendance, along with our legal counsel, Mr. Juan Cabrera, with the O'Halloran Demerara Castillo Group. At this time, we move to the moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Again, this meeting will be live video streamed at http://bit.ly/3SROLQR. This time we move on to item number 4, that be the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion? Been moved by Mr. David Garcia. Is there a second? I'll go ahead and second that motion. Again, motion has been made by Mr. David Garcia to accept the adoption of the agenda, and second by Mr. Corey Gassa. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. President, I have a vote for a question.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Ramos.
I have a question about business number 8B.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not, there isn't anything in our agenda that it goes into any information about what that's about. Does that have to do with our previous meeting?
You are correct, ma'am. If you recall, there was, Mr. Kerr, if you could kind of chime in. If you can recall, the last time there was a grievance, I think the board unanimously agreed that we would bring this back and talk about some of the concerns that were brought up. And again, as a board unanimously, again, we know we can't take votes when it comes to grievances, but we pretty much strongly agreed that there was some of these issues that were brought up would be brought in personnel, and we were going to get those forward and see what we need to do, if you recall.
Yeah, I do. I actually would like to remind the board that the reason why I voted was because of the verbiage in which Mr. Kupal addressed the board. He stated, although there were serious issues and allegations presented during the level 3 hearing this evening, issues which the board would like to address in the very near future, some board meetings and workshops. I look at that verbiage as so we're going to be speaking about that in open session and not in executive and in workshops. So that's that to me poses a problem of transparency.
And again, I do respect that. And again, when it comes to personnel issues, again, those will be addressed in the back in executive session. Am I correct, Mr. Perry?
Yes, Madam Trustee Ramos. I mean, certainly you can talk generally about programs or systems or processes, but if it in any way is going to impact an individual employed by the district, then we do need to discuss that.
Who's the individual? Is it a superintendent or the staff?
I'm just looking at the agenda item as you are, ma'am, so.
Again, I'm getting conflicted because again, I know we cannot take a vote when it comes to some of the stuff that was happening. But again, I think as a board collectively, we agreed that we would slowly, and you are correct, that we would talk about some of the issues that were brought forward along with the workshops. And again, as your board president, you all entrusted to was to slowly start bringing some of these issues back. And that's why it was put on the agenda. Because again, I know there's been several board members that have said that, again, some things weren't pushed on agenda items, some people kicking the can down the road. But again, you are correct that there will be other further stuff that we will discuss when it not just comes to that department, but others. But again, this is a way that, again, that I felt that, again, it was fresh on everybody's mind. Again, we didn't vote on some of the stuff. Again, there was some concerns that were brought forward, and we can discuss them in executive session when it comes to personnel.
Ms. Ramos, if you like to.
This language is very vague. And as a citizen, a taxpayer who wants to know what's going on in a meeting, discussion regarding food services personnel is very vague. And it's even vague for a board member that has zero information about it in their own packet. So I guess my real issue with it is that I don't know why we're going to executive session.
Well, we go to executive every time we have a board meeting in regards to personnel.
What's the issue?
Again, if you recall, we cannot talk about personal stuff in open session.
Just on that one point, Trustee Ramos, and I'm happy to talk about it also later if you like, but with anything, and I don't know that there's personnel issue. I'm also read the agenda. I wasn't part of the creation. I'm just saying that it's very standard and that you do not mention any specifics when it comes to personnel. I don't know that there's personnel or if it's more generic, but we'll find out and close. And then you can also always, under your board policy, suggest if you want to have a workshop on food service or anything like that, that's always obviously something under your purview.
Any other further? Again,
At some point, we were supposed to discuss policy. And that's what I'm saying, and I will add to Ms. Ramos's statement was we cannot discuss policy back in executive session. We do have to discuss policy out front, and it does need to come out in a workshop. However, now we're going to, when will the workshop be?
Sir, again, we could probably look at something here pretty soon. Again, I can't give you a date. If you're putting my foot to the fire, I'm not scared of putting my foot to the fire, but to give you a date, I can't give you one. Again, I understand where you all are coming from, but then I'm getting conflicting because again, I'm not going to get into the verbiage of what happened in agreements, but again, this was something that we spoke about. And again, I understand, but again, we have discussed that there was just some things that were being brought up and we wanted to discuss them. And that's pretty much all I can talk about. And not only this department, but again, further down the road, if we have to, we have to. So again, I don't know where you all want to go, but again, there's a motion before the board right now. Again, made by Mr. David Garcia to accept the agenda as it so speaks, then seconded by Mr. Corey Gassa. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Right. Motion carries 3-2. Thank you again. Again, we'll go ahead and move on to item number 5, public participation. At this time, Ms. Bettis, do we have anybody that wishes to address the board?
Sophia Collins, parent from Bennett.
Awesome. Okay, so Ms. Sophia Colley, if you could please address the podium, but before we get on, we have our attorney again that will kind of go over what we can and what we can't do. If you'll give us a second.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Under the Texas Open Meetings Act, the Board of Trustees is allowed to offer public comment. We will have a couple of timekeepers, myself and Mr. Vasquez as well. Just a couple of comments. Public comment will not be used for personal attacks. And please note that if you got any particular complaints, there is a grievance policy that we can follow through the district. And we should also not mention anybody's individual names, including students, parents, or employees. Thank you.
Okay, as a military family, 20 years and counting, I dealt with many schools all over the map, from the Pacific Northwest down to the Florida Keys. And I, with all due respect, have to say that KISD has been one of the most disappointing school systems for me and my family. My concerns are the hypocrisy, the lack of professionalism, starting at the top, to the lack of communication, lack of passion, the laziness from the school teachers to the rudeness coming from the adult educators and administrators towards parents and students. Just listen to a robocall. It's sad. I've had to go to the school several times to fight for my son, and yes, I've taken care of the issues, but I want it to be known that I've had to go in there upon my own request to fight for my son to get the help he needs with his IEP, because no one knew his accommodations and no one knew where his paperwork was, or so they said. Instead of working together for my son's progress and growth, everyone was more concerned about him wearing a mask. I had teachers blaming each other about where his paperwork was until I went in there, again, like I said, and had a sit down upon my own request with teachers asking about, hey, his IEP, where are we at? You know, nobody knows anything. Teachers are, well, we don't have that information. This person hasn't given us a copy. Well, that broke my heart, because I felt like, as teachers, you guys are a team, work together for my child. You know, he doesn't, you're telling me he doesn't have, that he has an IEP, but you just don't know what his accommodations are. Go find the person, you know, as his teacher, work together. So I've had to go to the school several times, and sadly, it's never been a happy visit. I find myself so frustrated more often than not with KISD, and I really hate that. That's why I'm here, in hopes of change. The library recently opened after being closed forever, and I had to call and complain about that too, to get it open with no justifiable excuse. And I only realized it because the school I work at, they were having a book fair, so I decided, let me call the school my kid goes to, and apparently it's been closed, and right away they said, oh, we're opening it tomorrow, and boom, they opened it tomorrow. To me, that's not okay. And now, like I said, I only realized it was closed because the school that I work at was having a book fair. So I called, asked questions, they opened the next day. We're getting robocalls, being scolded, and basically told how to parent. Yet the same people go out and do the same thing. They tell the students not on the robocalls, not to do. Maybe focus on the student's education. We talk about something, we talk about bullying, see something, say something, and then get a robocall calling students snitches for reporting fights with parents. And no wonder teachers and parents and students are fighting with each other. We have teachers calling students cuss words at schools, and most recently a teacher assaulting a student. So, and I know those issues have all been taken care of, but it's a lot to deal with and very frustrating as a parent to just live through all that. Those robocalls have to change. There is a better way to speak to us, to speak to each other. Right now, they're just creating more problems and animosity between the professionals, the adults, and parents. And if we want change at KISD, it starts with the professionals at the top. Maybe start being professional, start talking to your teachers. Maybe some of them need to do a refresher course on bullying, start holding them accountable too. Start hearing us parents out and working alongside parents. Sadly, it feels like this administration has their mind made up before parents or anyone can even get involved. And when we do, it feels like a losing battle. It doesn't matter. You're gonna do what you want. It feels as if You want the least parent involvement. I feel defeated and hopeless being in this particular school system. Feels like no one really cares. It's a dictatorship, a one-way street, and it saddens me for my child. I work at Ricardo, and to see and feel the vibe, the passion over there for the minute you walk into the campus, the front office, and everybody there, everyone has a smile on their face, greeting the kids with joy, letting them know it's a great day no matter what challenges we face, and the kids feed off that. The relationship between teachers, students, parents, the board is amazing. It's no wonder their kids do so much better. Instead, at KISD, all the grown-ups are recently fighting over a mask mandate, which should never have been in place. All it did was cause more unnecessary stress, animosity between adults, parents, the kids, stress on the kids. Because KISD decided and took that issue upon themselves to take the parents' choice away. Imagine the mental stress the kids were experiencing throughout that time, watching us not being able to agree or come to a compromise. And no one at KISD cared enough to say, let us reason together, let the parents decide what's best for their own child. Instead, they forced parents to do what they wanted, which caused, again, more anger and frustration towards KISD. I hope that never happens again. That took a lot of the joy out of school. Why not just focus on the kids, their academics, focus on their academic growth or lack thereof, and not on their private lives? I live here across the street from the school. I pay taxes here, and it's only right for my son to attend KISD. But something has to change. KISD needs change. I can only hope to see better relationships between us. And thank you.
Are you, she's there 5 minutes, right? Thank you. Go ahead and move on to item number 6, the communication from administration. Move on to item 6A. Oh, I'm sorry. Before we move on, let the record show that Lieutenant Colonel Price has, it's okay, well, but he is also in attendance, just for the record. We'll go ahead. Thank you so much, Lieutenant Colonel Price. Item number 6A, Superintendent's report. Dr. Pettis.
I'm giving you copies of just what has happened today and then on Friday afternoon for staff development, just to give you an idea of what the teachers and staff have been, the trainings that they've been going through. It's a variety of things, but I was very, very proud of all the teachers and all the staff for their participation in it, because every campus that we visited, all the training that I conducted in my areas and everybody else that conducted training, the professionalism of hearing the teachers and seeing their dialogue and the direction that they felt like they were finally getting. So I appreciate everybody's participation in that. Thank you to our principals who helped lead the campuses in their data digs, et cetera, and of course, everybody else. So just wanted to share a little bit of what they did today and then Friday afternoon.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Pettis. I'll also go ahead and continue with our communication from administration as well, 6A as well, with number 2, the HR staff report with access. It can be found on page 5 of your board book. Dr. Pettis and Mr. Jacob Pettis, our HR director.
And really, this is just an update. We're trying to keep you all updated, and we started using this form last year just to kind of have an easier way of looking at how staffing is occurring in each campus. I know before it was very ambiguous. It was, nobody pretty much knew what staff was where. And so I'm just giving you an update as of 10/7 where we're at.
Anybody have any questions in regards to the HR staff report access? Can you find page 6? Dr. Pettis? So actually, I have a couple as well, so I'll go ahead and start, if you don't mind, correct? Yeah, Dr. Pettis, when it comes to the HMK staff, I know we have 2 care individuals, but one is correct at the high school and one's at the Algae Claver, correct?
Yeah.
So they actually have both opportunities. So they can
Yes.
either go to the Claver over here on this side, or they can continue to stay over there, correct?
Yes.
Just want to make sure that,
Prior to this year, they had both care teachers at the high school. Now that we've opened the Claver Center, we have one here and one there.
another question I have is, in regards to, us, I know school starting, I know we have 2 behavioral specialists that we incorporated to kind of help out with stuff. Again, I'm gonna be a little ignorant toward this. They were placed, one was placed at the high school, and one was placed at the administration with Bettis, but that's not the case, right? They're everywhere. I just
No,
wanna
one
make
is
sure.
one is elementary, one was gonna be secondary.
Right.
The concerns that we've had since school started, the influx of concerns
Right.
have required us to really spread them according to priorities. They've been responsible for, as you know, that we opened up, it used to be a PPCD unit before. Now it's called an EC SPED unit, and those were for the littles. And so there's been some training that had to happen there. We also opened up an 18+ unit. There's been some training that had to happen there. There's also been some severe cases at different campuses, and trainings have had to happen there to train the teachers on how to address some of these large influx concerns, behaviors.
And then the final question I have, and I'll go ahead and give the floor to whoever, Lieutenant Colonel Price or anybody else, is I know I've asked this before. Can you, again, tell me a little bit more about an instructional teacher coach as far as what they're capable, what they do? The reason why the question is, because again, I won't blindside you, is are we utilizing them when we don't have subs? Or unfortunately, there's a lot of teachers that, aren't, for subs, or, are they coaching? Are they helping new teachers out? Just kind of give me a rundown, and I know you can just refresh my memory.
The intent was for them to be job embedded coaches. Many of our new teachers are really, at the beginning of this year, they were wishing they were in more, but because of remote conferencing, they took on that duty. So we wouldn't have to pull teachers out. So they did the remote conferencing until we ended. And then now that we've ended that, now they've gone back into the classrooms to help the teachers, especially the new teachers that are new to the programs, to show them how to do the things they need to get done.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Is there a position called van driver?
Van driver,
According to this, we have a position called van driver.
You're gonna probably find on the last
It's
page.
a different font, text, and boldness than every other position. It kind of just made me wonder, it jumped out at me. That's the way it's printed. Van driver.
Mr. Rose, do you,
I'm looking at them. Bottom of page 17.
Yeah, it's right at the very bottom, sir, under transportation,
oh, van driver.
van driver, yeah.
Oh, I thought you said band.
No, van driver.
Van. It is, I never noticed that job before. I don't know.
I can answer that question. We have some of the early education students, there's not enough to take a bus, they take a van. So it's just, it is a regular route. It's just, we also have a route that transports to Corpus Christi as well to Texas School of the Blind and Deaf as well.
Would that be this individual?
No, this one is an in-town driver. that-
Okay, sir.
That actually transports the early education students.
So instead of being a bus driver, they're a van driver.
Yes,
Would that be because they don't have CDL?
that is correct.
But before, when we didn't have that unit, and it's gonna expand, I mean, we have children waiting to be tested as well, or in line to be tested, and so that's probably gonna grow even more.
Securing an excess principal at the high school, but I don't. That's- Brad, I think we have 3 and we have 3. I don't think it's not Brown anymore. I think it's just.
Right.
Yeah. Just a principal. Right. We did one time, it's not anymore.
All right, correct. We can take out the shading on that one.
I think you were just showing us that was where.
Yeah. Originally.
Anybody other?
Yes, Dr. Perez, we have one here, we've got on page 6, Jason Villarreal, he is our.
Oh, I need to stop you right there. You're okay. Again, can't mention any names.
That's correct.
That's again, no, it's okay. It's okay. I got you. That's why I'm here.
Page 6, we have 1 security guard and then 2 SROs, okay? We're taking, I guess, the responsibility of 1, is that correct?
One SRO,
Would that be the one that's just under security or?
under SRO. Security, he's part of our, he's been part of the staff. The SRO is when.
The agreement we have. with the
Yes.
sheriff?
So the 2 SROs are not KISD.
They're from the sheriff's office, but we pay for one of them,
Oh, okay.
and they pay for one.
So we have a total of 3 on,
We have, well, we have 2 SROs and one is called the security.
What's the difference in those two roles? Can one not put their hands on one person and another person can? I've heard a lot of people saying that, they heard that so-and-so says that they can't write anything up or touch someone because they're a female and or whatnot. I mean, what's the difference between the two?
Well, the SROs are governed by they're trained by the sheriff's office, and they can do, if somebody's performing something that's unlawful or criminal, then let's say the security officer caught somebody doing that, they would hand them to the SRO, because the SRO is the one who can do the pressing of the charges and things like that. Our security can't. Our security is almost like the way, and I'm surprised to see it titled that way, but this is the way it's been titled forever. In my experience, it's always been kind of like a part-time assistant principal or, that's usually how it's listed, but here we've listed it as a security, and he just helps keep security. He monitors always, helps.
Can you touch individuals and break them up from fights?
But we're training all of them on the CPI training. In fact, we did some today. But yes, it just depends on,
And the SROs can too as well.
they can if it's a certain point.
If you recall, the presentation that Mr. Gasser gave was pretty in-depth about, they go through a special training, correct me if I'm wrong, but you can go and ask our SRO, is they go through an extensive 40-hour week training to become an SRO, because again, their duties and responsibility are a heck of a lot different than being on the street. So again, their training is different as far as the different things that they can do. If I'm not mistaken, he did mention that the majority would assist with, again, with unfortunately some type of behavior issue, a fight, but most importantly is to try to deter, and again, also to help in any capacity as far as reporting, something we mentioned prior at this board as far as things that are on too far. But again, am I correct in saying that was Mr. the Commander said last time? Sorry.
No, he's not there. We do have our SRO there. If you want to ask him some questions, would you mind?
He's your employee.
Would you like to ask him some more questions, Ms. Ramos?
I think I'm more interested in bringing the policy back on what the do's and don'ts are, what their job entails, because I'm under the impression they do a certain job, which I'm hearing that they're not responsible for.
We are not responsible for school policy, just safety of the children, so that does include physical fights we deter physical fights, so since there, we will put our hands on them just for safety reasons.
Even if it's a girl fight,
Yes,
you guys are right.
yes.
I think unfortunately, all of us have seen those. I don't care. I don't do social media because of all the rumors and innuendos. But I think a lot of us have seen all the, and I know I'm getting off subject, I'm gonna get right back to it, but I'm gonna address it since it's being brought up, is that unfortunately, we as a district, no matter who or what, have to always remember, just like the officer said, it's about safety, not only for kids, staff, faculty, even board. So we'll do that. At the end of the day, it's about safety, regardless of who, what thinks about it. It's my opinion, but again, just want to make sure that it's out there.
Last 2 weeks ago, there was discussion about resource at the high school and a resource at middle school. You made any progress in that regard?
No, because right now they don't have anybody available yet, but Dr. Sandoval is going to be working closely with them, hopefully get some.
Hire one. This was to take one officer at the high school, one officer at the middle school. This wasn't to hire a third one.
Oh,
One
okay.
and one.
And I understood it to be hiring
Well, it
additional
didn't
one
delve
for
into
the,
that. It
the Gillette.
deviated into that, but the point is, 2 places, 2 cops.
Yes, and one of them is rotating to Gillette. Well, we've been,
We attempt to go there.
That's your question, right? You promise?
Well, it's tended to go and be there all day, 2 different things. I don't see you guys joined at the hip. I think, my mind is you have 2 officers, and you got 2 places you want a coverage. You put one guy in one place, one guy in the other place, and you got twice the coverage. I mean, that was my going away impression, was that that's what was going to be explored. That possibility that we don't need to have both police, both officers at the same place when we've got, and remember, we made the argument that the whole city of Kingsville is patrolled by 4 police officers at any given time. So why do we have to have 2 officers at the high school specifically? You know, if one agency can do the whole city before, I would think if we have 2 assets, we ought to be able to split those assets and get double coverage. That was my
On the day, I believe KB has 8.
Well, it's not how many you have on duty. I'm only concerned about the 2 that we have visibility over. We have 2 large campuses that one's not covered, one is.
Right, part of it was supposed to be that one of them was gonna be doing Gillette randomly throughout the day, every day. Not at a specific time, so the kids wouldn't know exactly what time to be there, but. So that's occurring?
But we're trying to slip that randomly in, trying to slip that temporarily in.
And
Oh,
so
he's
you're
here then,
asking
but not here
for-
later.
You're
I'm
asking for
looking
them
at
to be
all
there
the
all
time.
day?
All day.
So,
One of each place, all day. That way, the high school's got we've got a police officer there, or a sheriff there, and middle school's got one there. That just seems to me to be,
Well, high school does have by almost twice the number of students that Gillette does.
it also has a security guard.
So, and so does Gillette.
So let me go ahead and stop the conversation, okay? Because I understand what you're
Okay, you know
saying.
what I'm going with.
I know where you're going, sir. And again, we can go ahead and, if you all recall, is again, we did send them a memorandum of understanding. There was a great discussion, if you all recall as board, that we went to the back and we did have those discussions. And we'll, as we get back, because it'll be a personnel issue. Am I correct, Mr. Cabrera, in saying that?
again, it depends on the context of
Right,
the
so we're
conversation.
talking-
We're generally talking
The last
about,
time we took it to the back, after we did something, we went to the back and we discussed about some of the protocols that we thought that would be a benefit to the whole entire district. And again, when we're talking about personnel, we're more than welcome to maybe bring that back up when we get to the back when it comes to personnel. About what we had discussed when we signed the MOU.
just to clarify, Board President, if it is about the protocols or the system itself or anything to do more generically with how the superintendent leads the functional area, that's a public session item. But the closed session items are specific about personnel.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I do have a question, not personal, but for protocols.
Thank you.
I'm under the impression that law enforcement can press charges on their free will.
I'm not a public opinion, I don't know. I just know anybody can sue anybody. It happens daily.
Suing is different than
But
arresting.
that's what I'm saying, we have to get our manager, our legal team to look at that, or who could press, the question again, could you repeat the question again, Mr. Ramos?
Yes, ma'am.
Do these sheriffs have the authority to arrest someone for a crime committed at our campuses?
Yes.
Yes.
Minors and adults.
Okay, so you don't need a principal or a teacher to say, oh my God, please press charges against this person. You can do that on your own free will.
Well,
If there's.
I'm gonna ask this last question and we're gonna move on, because I think this is, again, is a great topic as far as the workshop. Because and again, this is my opinion, so we're trying to ask a loaded question, we're gonna get caught in something, we're not gonna be able to get out of it. I understand the board has an entire bunch of questions in regards to this, because again, it is the safety of kids and students and staff that we spoke about. But again, getting to the meat and potatoes, I think we could have a great workshop to kind of open it up. But again, asking these questions are great, but again, I just want us to be very careful, because I think we're treading a thin line.
I just feel, Mr. Garza, excuse me, that if we separate, like Colonel Kreitz is talking about, we're gonna come back in a few weeks, months, and say, hey, we don't have enough at the high school. One, security card is not gonna do it, 2 is not gonna do it, I think we need more.
And I agree 100% with you all, but again, at the end of the day, all of us took enough, like you all said, to volunteer, but most importantly, to give the staff and faculty the opportunity to do what they need to do. And again, we, as a board collective, you're correct, can do that, but again, we have to entrust that they are gonna do what they need to do. Again, I agree with you, I think that we need to have more. I told you, it was up to me, we have a police force, but unfortunately we don't. But again, I agree with you all, but honestly, I don't want us to get into the weeds about asking our SRO and all this, again, just one, because it's a very, very thin line. That's all I'm saying. Again, that's all I'm saying, and you're right, trust you guys, because you're right. We're liable to come back in a couple of weeks and have the same problem again. But that's what we hold our personnel to accountable.
I totally understand about we also be here as volunteers and all, but I don't see us, what's wrong is when our teachers are being engaged in these activities with students and then them getting hurt, that we're not protecting them like we should. Okay, that's what I'll say.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I can answer the question quickly and shortly. Yes, we can press charges on either way, either way, if an adult or staff believes charges need to be pressed on a child, we can do that. Just like any in the city and the.
You said if the other person believes they want to, not you.
Correct.
So you
But
you
if I,
don't
if
have
I,
the
if it-
authority to independently make a decision to arrest somebody for a possible crime on campus.
I can as well, if I have probable cause, just like it is in the road registry.
Trustee, just to clarify, what he's saying is if he visually, right, observes probable cause, then obviously he can act on it, but otherwise, as you mentioned, you have to get the input of someone else that witnessed what they allege to be a crime or a violation of law.
Then who files charges? The school district against them?
The victim.
The victim has to, you see, the victim
Yes.
still has to, even though you see the act
That's facilitated.
and
Yes,
then you arrest, ultimately the victim still has to file charges, is that correct? Okay.
Unless it's domestic abuse, but that's being specific.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions when it comes to personnel? And I promise I will not kick the can down the road.
Hey, just real quick, Mr. Garza.
Yes, sir.
Under maintenance transportation, I see a lot of yellow documents. Do we have, I know there was a vacancy. Do we have enough staff there? I know we just spent a lot on our air conditionings and we're trying to maintain those. And I see a lot of mechanic helpers and then maintenance helpers. Those are the ones that help us keep up with those filters and everything. I'm concerned that, you know, even bus drivers.
Yeah.
Are we lacking people there? Is that what that looks like, or?
Oh, yes. There's definitely a shortage of bus drivers throughout many districts. But we're making do right now. I mean, we're doing with what we have, thankfully.
That's it.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else have questions when it comes to item number 6A2, HR staffing report? We'll be paying on page 5, all the way to 17 for Dr. Bettis.
Okay, and
Thank you.
other
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
Item number 3.
Well, the other item that I want to talk about, I just wanted to thank everybody who attended the ribbon cutting of the Alice G. Claver Early Literacy and Continuing Education Center. I want to thank also the students who spoke, and thank Dr. Sandoval's office also for helping to coordinate, but for everybody who participated. I want to thank the board members who attended and who supported us to make sure that this actually came to fruition. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Bettis. Appreciate that. All right, go ahead and move on to item number 7, be new business. Item 7A, by common consent, the board agrees to consider as one action item following the page 19 to 20. That'd be the approval of the special board meeting for the minutes of October the 5th, 2021. Is there a motion? Made by Lieutenant Colonel Kreitz. Second by Ms. Thelma Salinas. Any further discussion? If there is no other for discussion, again, motion before the board again is to approve the special meeting minutes of October 5th, 2021, made by Lieutenant Colonel Kreitz, second by Ms. Thelma Salinas. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Sorry. Alright. Item 7B, discussion and possible action regarding School Bus Safety Week proclamation. This can be found on page 21 through 22 in the board book. Dr. Peter Pitts.
Good evening, Board President Garza, Superintendent Dr. Bettis, members of the board. Each day, the Kingsville school bus drivers transport more than 1,800 students. They are most of the time the first adult that our students see. Over half of our students ride the bus every day. And these bus drivers, they take on the role to make sure they transport our students safely, but at the same time, to hopefully be the first positive influence that those students see at the beginning of the day, and hopefully also a positive influence at the end of the day. have many challenges as far as not only obviously transporting our students safely, but also making sure that the students get along with each other on the bus as well too. We are recommending that the Board of Trustees approve the school bus proclamation week, which would be next week, October 18th to the 22nd of 2021.
Good. Thank you, Dr. Pitts. Again, you heard the recommendation by administration, again, to accept the School Bus Safety Week proclamation, which would be October 18th through the 22nd, 2021. Again, is there a motion? Moved by Mr. David Garcia. Is there a second?
A second?
Second by Mr. James Lucy. Any further discussion? And there's been a motion from the board, made by Mr. David Garcia, second by Mr. James Lucy, to accept the proclamation for School Bus Safety Week from the weeks of October 18th to the 22nd. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries 6-0. Once the bill passes, again, Dr. Pitts, you have the mic. Let me read the proclamation.
Thank you, Mr. Carson.
Yes, sir.
Proclamation for the Kingsville Independent School District for School Bus Safety Week, October 18th through 22nd, 2021. One bus plus one driver equals a big impact on education. Whereas the Kingsville Independent School District recognizes that the importance of protecting the safety of Kingsville school children extends beyond the classroom walls in the school building. And whereas the board has great respect for the accomplishments of Kingsville's school bus drivers, mechanics, supervisors, and all school transportation personnel in providing the safest transportation possible for children to and from school and home. And whereas each day the Kingsville school bus drivers transport more than 1,800 students traveling over 100,000 miles annually. And whereas coordinating the countless routes over so many miles and supervising the dozens of students on each vehicle requires an outstanding effort put forth by numerous exemplary professionals who have devoted their careers to transporting our children safely. And whereas the board continues to recognize and to take great pleasure in commending the men and women who accept and meet the challenge of school transportation, now therefore be it resolved that the week of October 18th through the 22nd, 2021 be designated as Kingsville Independent School District School Bus Safety Week, and be it further resolved that this week be devoted to the recognition of everyone who contributes to the successful operation of our state school buses, and be it finally resolved that this special week serve as a fitting time to urge all Kingsville drivers to become more aware of school bus safety regulations, and we encourage all citizens to be alert and drive carefully near school buses. In official recognition thereof, we affix our signatures this 12th day of October, 2021.
Thank you, Dr. Pitts. You're welcome. All right, go ahead and continue on with new business. We'll move on to item 7C. This can be found on your board book on page 23 and 24. Discussion and possible action item. Again, the Red Ribbon Week proclamation. Dr. Johnny Sandoval.
Thank you, Mr. Garza, Board President, Board Trustees. I'm Dr. Perez. I'm here to discuss the National Red Ribbon Week campaign and its designation in honor of Enrique Camarillo, the DA undercover agent whose battle against drugs took his life on February 7th, 1985, while investigating a major drug cartel in Mexico. In honor of Camarillo's memory and his battle against illegal drugs, all campuses will schedule activities through the week to raise awareness and take a stand against drugs and alcohol. KISD will host a kickoff celebration on Monday, October 25th, 2021 at HMT High School at 9 a.m. to collaborate with the community and spread the message of staying drug-free. The administration recommends that the Board of Trustees approve the proclamation as read, that we will be reading, proclaiming October 23rd to 31st, 2021 as Red Ribbon Week in our schools and community.
Thank you, Dr. Sandoval. Again, you heard the recommendation by administration to accept the following. The Red Ribbon Week proclamation. Again, that will happen between October the 23rd to the 31st. Is there a motion? We move by Lieutenant Colonel Craig. Is there a second? Second by Mr. David Garcia. Is there any further discussion? Not, we'll proceed to vote. And motion has been made by Lieutenant Colonel Craig, second by Mr. David Garcia. to again accept the proclamation of the Red Ribbon Week proclamation that was read or going to be read, happening from October the 23rd to the 31st. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you. 6-0. Dr. Sanado, could you please read for us? Thank you, sir.
Now, whereas alcohol and other drug use in our state has reached epidemic stages, and with the 11 and 20-year-old age group dying at a rate higher than that of any group, because of our communities must join together to combat the unrelenting demand for drugs in our state and launch visible, unified, protection education efforts directed toward both youth and adult age groups. And whereas community collaborations are supporting the Red Ribbon campaign all across our state during Red Ribbon Week to offer Texans the opportunity to demonstrate their commitment to drug-free lifestyles. And whereas individuals and groups in government, law enforcement, education, religious institutions, sports teams and service organizations, as well as youth, physicians, and senior citizens will demonstrate their commitment to drug-free, healthy lifestyles by wearing and displaying red ribbons during Red Ribbon Week. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Kingsville Independent School District hereby proclaims the week of October 23rd to the 31st, 2021 as Red Ribbon Week in Kingsville, Texas. Also call on all citizens to join us in recognizing the efforts of the community coalitions towards eliminating the use of drugs in our communities and in supporting the Red Ribbon Week campaign and a high quality life for the youth and adults in Texas and throughout the United States. An official recognition thereof, we hereby fix our signature the 12th day of October 2021.
Again, thank you so much, Dr. Sanado. All right, go ahead and move on to continue with new business. Item 7B, discussion and possible action regarding Texas Education and Human Resources Day resolution that can be found on page 25 and 26. Mr. Jacob Pettis.
Thank you, President Garza, Superintendent, Dr. Pettis, and Board of Trustees. A little background information. Governor Greg Abbott has proclaimed October 13th, 2021 as Texas Education Human Resources Day, a day set aside to recognize and honor the important contributions made by the school staff who work in human resources. Human resources staff work hard each day to make sure our schools are staffed with high quality employees and that those employees have a good work environment. Administration is recommending that the Board of Trustees approve the resolution as read proclaiming October 13th, 2021 as Human Resource Day throughout the district.
Thank you, Mr. Pettis. Again, you heard the recommendation by administration. Is there a motion? Made by Ms. Delma Salinas. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And Mr. James Gluson. Is there any discussion? Not proceed to vote. Again, motion before the board again, been made by Ms. Delma Salinas, second by Mr. James Gluson. Again, to accept the recommendation by the administration to approve the resolution of Human Resources Day, which would be October 13th. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you, Mr. Pettis.
Whereas the Human Resource Division is instrumental in recruiting, selecting, resourcing, and retaining quality staff in support of providing an excellent education for all students. And whereas Human Resources plays a key role in fostering satisfaction and loyalty among employees by allowing for professional growth and development and keeping employees informed about policies, working conditions, compensation, and benefits. And whereas Human Resources monitors and manages current and future workforce trends, organizational culture, legal and legislative trends, and ethical and social responsibility. And whereas Human Resources is an important part of district leadership and is vital to the overall productivity and efficiency of the district's workforce. And whereas Human Resources is valued and respected department that sustains the district's most important asset, its people. Therefore, the Board of Trustees of Kingsville ISD does hereby resolve October 13th will be observed as Texas Education Human Resources Day throughout the district. The board also encourages students, staff, and parents to express their appreciation to our Human Resources team for their dedication and commitment to Kingsville ISD employees and students. In official recognition, therefore, we hereby fix our signature this 12th day of October twenty twenty-one.
Thank you again, Mr. Pettis.
Can I say something real quick?
Absolutely, sir.
I just want to recognize my staff. They're not here today, but Jeannie Luciano, Jeanette Hernandez, and Jennifer Bauer. They're a big part of making our HR department run efficiently, and I really appreciate their hard work.
Thank you, Dan. Again, on behalf of the board too, we want to thank you again for all y'all do, as well as for human resources, along with the bus safety coming up as well. All right, I'll move on to item 7E. Again, discussion and possible action regarding resolution for extracurricular status of 4-H organizations and Claiborne Kennedy County adjunct faculty agreement that can be found on page 27 to 32. Dr. Johnson, allowed.
Thank you, Mr. Garza. The State Board of Education passed an amendment to 19 TAC, Chapter 129.21, K1, requirement for student attendance accounting for state funding purpose. On June the 9th, 1994, that allows public school students to be considered in attendance when participating in off-campus activities with an adjunct staff member of the school district. This amendment provides local school districts the opportunity to recognize county extension agents as adjunct staff members and to recognize county student participation in 4-H extension educational activities as in attendance for foundation program purposes. Extension agents for Claiborne Kennedy County have requested that the Keysville ISD Board of Trustees recognize the extension agents of Claiborne Kennedy County as adjunct faculty and recognize current enrolled 4-H members as approved for recognition and eligible for extracurricular status consideration. The administration recommends that the Board of Trustees approve the resolution granting the Claiborne Kennedy 4-H program extracurricular status for the 2021-2022 school year.
Thank you, Dr. Sandoval. Again, you heard the recommendation again from the administration to approve the resolution granting the Claiborne Kennedy 4-H program extracurricular status for the 2021-2022 school year.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Elizabeth Ramos. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Then by Ms. Thomas. Any further discussion? Again, proceed to vote. Again, a motion before the board, again made by Ms. Elizabeth Ramos, second by Ms. Thomas. Is again to take the recommendation by administration to approve the resolution of granting the Claiborne Kennedy 4-H program extracurricular status for the 2021-2020 school year. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you, Dr. Sandoval. Might as well stay there, but. All right, go ahead and move on to item 7F. This can be found on your board book on page 33 and 36. Dr. Johnny Sandoval.
This is the first reading of board policy recommendation revisions to EE local. Update to BE local includes policy revisions regarding the days that regular board meetings are held each month. Current policy states that regular board meetings are held on the second and fourth Mondays of each month at 5:30 p.m. The administration recommends that the Board of Trustees revise board policy BE local to include regular meetings of the board to be held only on the fourth Tuesday of each month at 5:30 p.m. This will serve as the first reading of BE local.
Thank you, Dr. Sandoval. Yeah, is there a motion? Want discussion? Okay, fine. Accepting.
Okay. The idea that we're gonna go from 2 a month to 1 a month. Can you turn your microphone on, sir? I think- oh, well, I thought I turned it on. That might be helpful. but,
That's okay, buddy, you're good.
Going from 2 a month to 1 a month. You know, we might be at that point where we can get everything, business done in one meeting a month to do it. But it speaks to the board having workshops that other week. We got a ton of work in that department.
Correct.
So just for my colleagues' purpose, my expectation is I'm still gonna be coming here twice a month.
Absolutely, I think that's the intent.
Now, if that's the wrong assumption, let me know now so that I can influence my vote. But right now, I mean, that's my way I envision it. Business and then real business. Because I think the real business is the workshop.
You're correct, Technical Crisis. That's something, again, we discussed prior. And again, I know that we would try to go to once a month, but most importantly, bring up workshops to work out the details that we had to, because a lot of things that we do have to come to the board can be resolved in a workshop.
Yes.
So, but you're all correct.
Okay.
And you can almost put to the fire.
What's the legality of putting workshop in the policy? Like the workshop language in the policy, because I feel more comfortable with it stating regular meetings of the board shall normally be held on the fourth Tuesday of each month at 5:30.
I'm gonna say.
In addition to, and when determined necessary for the convenience of the board members, the board president may change the date and time of local to Tuesday. I would prefer to have the verbiage of Tuesday workshop meeting on a different day.
So let me go ahead and try to answer, then Mr. Guerrero will come and give his expert. Again, if you recall, we've heard this several times and many times, policy belongs to the board. So at any time we can do that. So if that's something the board wants to move forward, putting it in a workshop, then so be it. But again, as far as legally, I mean, again, these policies belong to the board, so we can change it at any time. Now.
Can I just clarify?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Legal policy does not belong to the board. Typically, that comes from the state. It's a
Okay.
legislative mandate, or it comes from so the legal policy, we implement and get it from TASB, or and that very rarely can be amended.
Okay.
But all the local policy, you're right, that is under your purview to manage, to write the policies deemed appropriate to manage your local school district.
So is it legal to put the verbiage in our local policy under regular meetings?
That, what
Yada,
you
yada,
shared,
yada, yada, in addition to Tuesday, workshop meeting set on so-and-so date, is that legal?
absolutely, yes. It's just something the board would need to agree on.
And again, I'm gonna get a little defensive. Don't be scared. If I say there's gonna be a workshop, I'm not gonna word. I'm gonna do it. And I'm saying that in general. If some of those of you know who I am. If I say we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it. It's like I made a note, I said, we'll move this district forward regardless of who's running the train.
The concept of having regular meetings on the fourth, that we all earmark our schedules, and our thinking, superintendent, say, okay, that's the fourth one, of course, we're gonna have a board meeting that. Having a workshop, and again, it needs to stay on the Tuesday, because people build their schedules on a weekly basis, not a monthly basis. And so, in my case, Tuesdays are precious, Tuesdays are sacred, nothing conflicts with a Tuesday. If I go flipping around days, Monday and Wednesday, but then it doesn't. All come to terms. Right now, we've come to terms on Tuesdays twice a month. I can live with that. Now, whether it's in a policy that says specify a workshop on a given Tuesday, I don't think it's necessary because it's a workshop. We can call them anytime we want anyway.
But I think you're right, Colonel, because we did talk about that we would stay consistent of what we had. I think the whole intent of the workshop was to, when we do have a board meeting on if it does come to fruition and we do pass it, that we can knock out some of the stuff and that we need to continue to elaborate, we could at that meeting. But
Again,
again,
out the workshop, you know, knock a lot of the
Absolutely.
discussion out of the way, so we actually sit down to do the motion. You know, we pretty well know where everything is.
And then you might need extra regular meetings for that, to take care of that business. So
If you do,
I hate to sound mean, but I've heard since the day that, you know, we all got elected that we've got, like, the superintendent of the board has so much work to do. Let's not lay it on thick with requests and stuff. And so far I've, you know, tried not to jump off the side of a cliff. And I respected that in a lot of ways, but what's the difference between now and yesterday? That's where my confusion is.
well, I think now we've jumped off the cliff.
I mean, we can always cancel a meeting if we don't have enough business, so I would just like to make sure that that Tuesday on that month, that I can, you know.
I do have a concern with this. By saying the fourth Tuesday, we may not have a fourth Tuesday in February. If I'm counting days right.
you're correct. But we can always bump it. Remember, we can always call the meeting.
I understand that, but I'm just saying that if this is the first reading and we're calling it out here, the fourth Tuesday would also be possibly the 24th of December. I'm just saying, pick a different day. I mean, pick a different Tuesday. I mean, I recognize that we said Tuesday.
Tuesdays are Tuesdays.
I don't have a problem, I think, and again, I wouldn't have a problem, but this is just me, we can't meet the motion, there's no motion. But again, the third Tuesday, if that's under the board unanimously, and there's a motion, I wouldn't have a problem with that either. I just think, again, and I get baffled because I don't understand some people, and that's okay, is it, some of you all have come to me and have asked for things like this, and all of a sudden we come here and it's like, well, no. Well, no, it's not gonna happen. Like, again, and again, I'm not, again, but again, like I said, if that's what the board wants to go to be, again, the third Tuesday of the month, so be it. But there will continue to be a workshop because it's important that we iron out a lot of stuff.
Of course, you do that as an amendment, you can offer that as an amended
Absolutely.
motion. And
Well,
then
correct.
you can also
Well,
offer
there's
your
no-
motion.
There's no motion.
There's no motion, so it could just die. And we can get,
So there's no motion. My copy says third Tuesday.
I didn't do that.
No, it doesn't say that, but I'm saying, that's what my copy says,
Oh.
third Tuesday.
Mr. President,
yes, ma'am.
I'd like to make a motion.
Good.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the change in this proposed BE local policy for regular meetings. With the verbiage, regular meetings of the board shall normally be held on the first and third Tuesday of each month at 5:30. In addition to, and when determined necessary for the convenience of board members, the board president may change the date, time, or local location of a regular meeting with proper notice.
Okay, so you just basically put 2 board meetings in per month.
Correct, on the first and the third, and then he can, and then
Could you use your
And then the
microphone?
verbiage between 5:30 PM, and then the next sentence starts with when determined. I'd like to add in addition to, and when determined necessary, so that allows it's just better verbiage for the board president to make those executive decisions, whether he wants to cancel one of those meetings because there's not enough information, or add one, or do as he seems to be convenient to get business done.
The concern I have, Mr. Rollins, is that now not approving 1 a month, now we're back to 2 a month.
Lieutenant Colonel.
I never requested one a month, I've never heard anybody say that here on the board.
Well, this question, this said 1 a month. The fourth
Who's
Tuesday.
been asking that I don't wanna go to 2 meetings? Well, is that my business?
From what I understood,
I've
it
never
was
said-
one Tuesday
Okay,
would
it
be
was fine
workshop.
too then.
I think we should be here all night in both meetings. I think we've got a lot of business to do, and if we don't, then to the discretion of the board president, he can move things around.
But trustee Ramos, you said earlier you wanted to make one of them a workshop, that wasn't in your motion.
No, it was not.
She was giving me the time to
You can
think.
put it, can you put a workshop in a regular meeting?
Well, no, you would just say that you'd have, you could say that one of the Tuesdays was for workshops and because your workshop can also be an agenda prep, so for example, if you did first and third, you could do workshops, agenda prep, and then the third one could be your board meeting.
I think I'll keep my motion.
Is there a second to Ms. Ramos' motion?
I'll second it just so it gets a vote.
And second by Lieutenant Colonel Kreitz again. Ms. Ramos, you're gonna have to help me read. You have it written down for me? I have some of
Sure,
it.
I can read.
Okay, let the record know that Ms. Ramos will begin reading her motion. Yeah, Ms. Ramos, go ahead. Thank you.
Motion is to include in the BE local regular meetings language. Regular meetings of the board shall normally be held on the first and third Tuesday. First and third Tuesdays, the first of each month at 5:30. In addition to, when determined necessary for the convenience of board members, the board president may change the date, time, or location of regular meetings with proper notice.
Thank you. You heard the motion before the board, been seconded by Lieutenant Colonel Kreitz. Go ahead and move on to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Can we discuss?
Sorry.
Can
There's
I-
more discussion. Thank you, ma'am. Gotcha. I made mistakes.
Mr. President, I'd like to say one thing.
Absolutely, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
When I got this volunteer job, I got it because I wanted to go to work, and I'm here to go to work. So if anybody else want to jump on the gravy train, you're more than welcome.
And again, I do respect that, and thank you so much. But again, and I'll go ahead and, my deal is I think that we're in a very good sound place with everything that we need going forward. I think we have some great communication going on. But again, I think that, maybe once a month would be good. And again, with workshops to kind of line it up, but again, that's my opinion, but I do respect each and every one of you's opinion. Any other discussion?
My other concern is that there is nothing that specifies that there will be a workshop. And if that's concerned to anyone else, I mean, it'd probably be a time.
You're more than welcome to amend it.
We're talking about board meetings, and that's okay. But there's nothing that's just, so we can perhaps get to when we don't do the workshops because we don't want to come in.
And I agree again, but if you, some of you all recall, we did talk about that these were the best ways to go as far as having, I mean, I don't think anybody hasn't asked for a workshop or hadn't got it done. We've always had something, we've done something, it's been done. Maybe not of their liking, but it's been done. But again, yes, ma'am.
Okay, the verbiage that Elizabeth just said, the first and the third. So if we don't have enough information to make a second meeting, can one of them become a workshop? Can we do that if the verbiage is this way? If they're considered meetings?
Mr. Rivera? I think if you're gonna make one of them a workshop, you probably should clarify that, because it is different than there are no action items at a workshop. It's really set up for discussion and a working session, so they are quite different.
Well, I believe that was the purpose of that training that we had table set up right here. And this all came up and we all agreed to it, okay, once a month. Workshops were gonna be scheduled to just get all the drama out of it and everything. I don't have time to be here till 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, neither does the staff. So, that's what I was under the impression that that's what we had agreed on. That's what was coming to the board, I mean, for action. So, I think we need to go back, and like I say, it's the first reading, am I right? Dr. Betts, it is a first reading, so, with all respect, we'll finish up, Ms. Ramos's, a motion, and then we can go from there.
Any further discussion?
And I believe the president did say that he would call workshops, frequently. So even with these two, he should be getting workshops.
Correct. If you recall, we just came out of our operating procedures a week and a half ago. We had a great conversation with our legal team along with our consultant, and we had pretty much ironed it all out. Again, Rome wasn't built overnight.
I think some of the conversation had come up when we had a workshop on one night and then a board meeting the very next night. And both nights we were here till quite late. And that's where the discussion was, is that, so why do we have a board meeting that very next day? Well, because by policy, it says you have to have, the 2 board meetings a month. So that's why we couldn't schedule the workshop the day of the board meeting.
And 8:30 to me isn't late. I remember sitting in there, being here till like 9:30, 10, 11 o'clock sometimes. So we do technically get out a lot earlier than in the past.
Right, but I think the conversation had come up at that time, if I'm remembering correctly, is because we had back-to-back meetings, because one had to be a workshop and one had to be a meeting.
All right, so I think we had a great lengthy discussion. Any more discussion? Okay, the motion again before the board, before we take action, was again made by Mr. Livas Ramos, second by Lieutenant Colonel Kreitz. And the motion read was again to continue to have the first, and then again interject at any time, Charles, the first and third Tuesday of every month. Again, and then in addition, if a second meeting or a workshop needs to be had, would be able to call as long as everyone is aware of something to that effect.
In addition to. And when determined necessary. And for the convenience of board members, the president has all the responsibility.
All right, thank you. Again, all those in favor, say aye to the motion.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Nay. Motion fails. 1-5. All right.
I have an
I
amendment.
know. Give the floor.
I have an amendment that I'd like to make a motion, please.
I don't think there's an amendment to be made. You have to make a
You have to
motion.
make another motion.
It's a new
That's
motion.
what I'd like to make. I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
I would like to move that we have a workshop on the first Tuesday of the month unless it is canceled by the board president. And on the third Tuesday of the month, we have a meeting. And that'd be our schedule.
Thank you so much. Mr. James Lucy has made a motion for the board, again, to continue to have the workshop the first Tuesday of the month, and then having a regular board meeting on the third Tuesday of the month at 5:30. Correct, Mr. Lucy?
Correct.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by, go ahead.
Just amend mine.
Any further discussions? Any further discussions? Again, just keep in mind, we're going, okay, the one thing is, we want to make sure is that instead of going 2 and 4, now we're going 1 and 3, correct? One being the workshop, and number third being the board meeting.
Correct.
All right. Motion before the board is to, motion before the board made by Mr. James Lucy, second by Mr. David Garcia. Again, is to, again, change the local policy into reading that workshops be held the first Tuesday of the month at 5:30, and meetings be held on the third Tuesday of the month at 5:30 p.m.
The first Thursday, unless.
Thursday?
Excuse me, Tuesday.
Yeah.
First Tuesday, unless the president deems we don't need one, and then cancel it.
Okay, let me go ahead and, thank you, sir, so for clarifying. Again, the motion before the board, again, made by Mr. James Lucy, second by Mr. David Garcia, again, is to continue to have the workshop, on the first Tuesday of the month. Again, if we feel as the board president feels that we don't need one, we will not have one, he has the authority, but continue the meetings to be on the third Tuesday of the month at 5:30. Correct, Mr. Lucy's answer?
Correct.
Thank you, sir. It's second by Colonel Price. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay.
Nay.
Vote nay. Mr. President?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, sir. Motion carries. Thank you. 5-1. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Go ahead and move on to item 7G. It's going to be found on page 3740. Possible discussion, action regarding pay grade reclassification, naming of payment specialist, Dr. Pettis.
Yes, I'm thinking we probably need to have a workshop on this to really dive into why, because this used to be this position that we're recommending, and then it was changed when duties were relieved. And so it just needs to get into deeper discussion, I think, and so that we don't go into personnel issues either or anything like that. I'm thinking maybe we should table it for a workshop. If that's a possibility, if we're able to do that, I don't know.
Well, again, and I think legal will kind of go for.
Mr. Cabrera, would you, or Dr. Cabrera?
I think actually, I would agree, Superintendent, that something like this, because then you could talk about all the other, you put them all together once and handle them rather than piecemeal.
Yeah.
Might be better use of time.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I feel comfortable with that. If I have a visual, I've opened records requested this in the past and I got a real, not really the answer. Is there any way that you can show the pay scale of all these grades and exactly what entails someone from getting lower, middle, upper, so that we have an understanding of these responsibilities instead of creating new positions?
Right, and it wouldn't be a new position. I think that's why we have to do a workshop.
Right,
Because
but we've
it was
done it in the past. I just
Right.
want to make sure I have a visual of
Yes,
exactly.
we'll
what
give
we're
us
doing.
the visuals. Yes, definitely.
Dr. Perez, we do have someone there though, right? That's doing the job right now?
No,
No? Okay.
it's vacant.
Wait to hurry up.
Yes.
But this position would go from a clerical pay grade to an administrative pay grade.
It had been that before until this past year. This past year, it was changed to start this year into the lower pay grade because the duties were, I'm afraid we get too deep into personnel.
I think we have.
Well, if you've already asked the table, then I think it might be appropriate.
Okay.
And what we're able to do, trustees, which the superintendent colleague is.
Or we could go back.
No, well, it's probably, well, because as you know, superintendent, you've done this before, we can also compare it to surrounding districts to get everyone to understand why we need to stay competitive to
Right.
make sure that we get the best employees. So there's a lot more detail. It's not just specific to Kingsville that we could do in a workshop.
Thank you.
So again, you heard the recommendation by the administration to table this item, which would be item 7G, which would begin the discussion of possible action regarding pay grade reclassification and naming of feeding specialist. Is there a motion? Been moved by Ms. Elizabeth Ramos. Is there a second? Moved by Lieutenant Colonel Kreitz. You are correct. Yes, sir. We are correct. So the motion before the board right now is again to table this action item, pending Dr. Bettis and her team bring some more information, made by Ms. Elizabeth Ramos, second by Lieutenant Colonel Kreitz. Is there any further discussion? And I'll just go ahead and chime in. Again, Dr. Bettis, as we move forward, again, we're gonna go, hopefully, this pass. If we do table this item, we'd like to see some, maybe a KISD study, some pay grade stuff. Again, keeping all of the information, maybe redacted when it comes to other things, but again, we want to pretty in depth of why we're making the transition of going from a pay grade. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So 5-year history of that position's pay here.
Yes.
Because if we changed it, it'll show up in a pay
Right.
history.
So you want a 5-year?
Well, 5 year, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
This year.
Everybody okay with that?
That was a surprise to me. I didn't realize we changed that.
Again, the motion has been made. Again, all in favor say aye.
Uh,
What's opposed say nay. There, aye, right, Mr. Garcia? Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Motion carries. Motion to table. Thank you. 6-0. All right. This time we move on to item number 8. The board will enter into closed session in accordance with Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551.071, 551.074, to deliberate and consider the following. 8A, discussion regarding employment of contract personnel, Director of Secondary Instruction. Discussion regarding item 8B, discussion regarding food services personnel. Item 8C, discussion regarding personnel matters. And item 8D, consultation with legal counsel regarding any pending legal matters. At this time, we will go into a closed session at approximately 6:45. We now return to open session and take necessary action on matters which the board may discuss in open session upon which action may be taken. We are now returning to open session at approximately 8 p.m. This time, Dr. Pettis.
Administration recommends that the Board of Trustees approve the contracted personnel director for secondary instruction as presented.
Here the recommendation by the superintendent to again accept the recommendations, the recommendation presented. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Been moved by Mr. James Blusing. Is there a second? Is this for the director of secondary education?
I'll second.
Anybody like Lieutenant Colonel Kreitz? Is there any further discussion? Not proceed to vote on the motion. Again, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. So. There be no further business comes before this board. I declare this meeting adjourned at 8:01.